What's up, guys? Welcome back to the shop. On this episode, we're going to do a bunch of little knick-knack stuff. We're going to get the Winnebago back over here and start working on it for the Gambler. We got the hood back on the Chevelle, get the glove box put back in, and just kind of get a couple other little things that have been sitting on the bench for the last month or so on the cars. So let's get to it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Also, follow our links to Amazon. The affiliate links really help us out, help us get some camera equipment, and just put out better content for you guys. So let's get to it. All right, back in the truck. Got a pull knob to replace that. This is a 5/64, I believe, Allen wrench on there. So we'll slide it on down and clamp it on. Now we have control of the heater circuit, so we can turn on the heat, shut the valve. I'd like to replace that guy too. Not sure how it comes off though. Just pull on it, there you go. And I got another new one of those, so. Alright, there you go. Cool deal. Alright, so while getting in here, I noticed that there is a hell of a stain on the carpet on the truck right there. Upon further inspection, it appears that the hydro boost is leaking. So, that's something we're going to have to put on the list to repair, unfortunately. Looks like the pedal angle could be adjusted slightly too. So when we swap out that hydro boost, we'll adjust that pedal angle just a little bit, but that's a bummer. It's leaking power steering fluid all over the carpet. Alright guys, this is another thing that's been sitting on the bench for just over a year now, and this goes on the rear passenger side frame rail, and that holds up the, for lack of a better term, the tail light modular plug-in device. So it's just zip tied up there now, so I guess it's time to finish another project. Let's get under the car. Alright, well, we just pre-drilled a little hole and threw a little pan head in there. That should hold that good enough. We'll check that off the list. Alright, so when we hooked up the hidden receiver hitch, I never actually plugged this in, so while we're under here, let's go ahead and route that cable and get that plugged in. Alright, check that off the list. Alright, so we took a little time and cleaned out the upper shelf there. We pulled all of our doors down for the Prelude. I believe I have 5 doors for the Prelude from cars that we've parted out in the past. We're looking for the best door, most solid, no dents, no body filler, no rust, anything like that. Also trying to figure out which one has the best window felt and outer door seal and window seal gasket. So we'll start picking through those and just finding the best stuff to use and pushing the other stuff down the road. So if you know anybody looking for some Prelude doors and parts, we got some for sale. Alright guys, so one of the issues since we put the center console back together, the stereo hasn't worked, the radio, so we push all these buttons, nothing really works, it doesn't turn on, it's engaged, blah 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 blah. So we need to get that taken care of, and the wideband just recently has quit cycling and working. I've been having some issues with it, so I don't know if it's the gauge just finally gave out or what the deal is. It took forever to warm up and run, and now it just doesn't cycle at all. So I don't know if the gauge finally pooped out or what the deal is, so we're going to start tearing into that stuff and figuring out what the issues are with the radio and now the gauge. So let's get to figuring it out. Alright, so the stereo was a pretty easy fix. Started chasing some fuses down and ended up shorting out the fuse at some point, probably when we had this all pulled apart. I'm not sure what the deal is, but replaced the fuse and now it turns on and functions as it should. So I'm not going to play that music because I don't want to get copyright infringement, but it does work now, so that's good. So now we can listen to some tunes while we're driving. The wideband I pulled loose. Everything's connected back here as it should be, so I'm not 100% sure what the deal with that is, so that is what we're going to start tackling next. So with this wideband, I think what we're going to do is start checking for power and ground and make sure all that stuff's good, and if we do have power to the gauge and a ground to the gauge, then we know it's probably the gauge that took a crap. So let's go get the voltmeter and the test light and see what we can come up with. Alright, we got the test light here. I'm going to hook it up to a good ground. I found the key works pretty well in this car anyway. Looked up the diagram, and the red is power. So we've got power to the gauge. Now to check for a ground, since we know that power is good, I'm going to put a little jumper wire in here to connect my test light to. And we will check the black wire, which is what the diagram says. Third wire over. We have a good ground. So we've got power and ground to the gauge. So that leads me to believe, since this thing's been acting up lately, the last year and a half or so, that the gauge is probably going bad. I have replaced the O2 sensor. Didn't really change anything. It's just been progressively getting slower to turn on and start logging air-fuel ratio. So I'll give Autometer a call tomorrow and see what they have to say about it. And unfortunately, that means I'm probably going to have to order another gauge. So that's a bummer, but it is what it is. That's what happens with this race car stuff. So we'll move on to getting the glove box put back in and getting all that stuff buttoned back up so we don't have this light wearing our battery down. Alright, slide the glove box liner in, get that guy set up in there, and then finagle glove box door into the stop holder. And line the bolts up with the holes in the dash and tighten up the nuts. Pretty simple process. Alright, now we just put the trim screws back in to hold the plastic to the metal cover. Put all the stuff that's blowing out all over the place since this has been disconnected and unhooked, and light shuts off. There we go, that's done. What's up, guys? We're to the Winnebago. We're gonna see if we can get this piece started and get it back to the home front. She's a beaut. All right, here we go. Let's see how this goes. So far, we made it back to home base.